All right, welcome everyone to our masterclass, the restoration equation, the specific formula that you need to save your marriage. My name is Marc Johnston, and with me is Heather Choate. Now, before we get into this, I would just want to establish who this is for. This masterclass here is for those who want to know if their marriage can be saved. It's for those who want to save or even improve their marriage, but possibly if your spouse is unwilling or not wanting to work on it with you, that's fine. This is for you. This is also for those who want to have some extra connection and love in their relationship, more trust and openness, or if you just want to create more passion. If there's some great need in your relationship, especially if you just want to have some more security or just want to even have more fun, this is for you. So in the next 50 minutes or so, I want to give you some promises here. I want to let you know what we're going to be giving you here. In the next 15 minutes, we want to make sure that we give you some clarity. I want you to know if your marriage can or cannot be saved, or if it's too far gone. I want to make sure that you get some results here. Know how to get those results. How to quickly get out of those painful loops you've been stuck in and just really start seeing some change. I want to also make sure that you get some hope here, that you know how to get your spouse from the point where they have one foot out the door to the point where they're going to be back in your arms again. I also want to make sure that we give you some direction. I want you to know exactly what you must do to restore your marriage and, how to avoid those fatal mistakes that so many people fall into. And I want to make sure that you're able to do this quickly. I want to save you some time and energy and effort so you can restore your marriage fast without having to waste years and years and years going over the same problems in therapy. So, I want to ask you a question. I want to know whether this sounds like you, whether you lie in bed at night feeling uncomfortable with any sort of leftover emotion, whether the words of your last argument have been running through your head, whether you wonder why you can't even have a normal conversation with your husband or wife anymore. I want to know whether you feel like the more you reach out to work on this marriage, whether you feel like you just keep being pushed away. I also want to know whether you dread the thought of what divorce would mean to you, your children, the rest of your family. I know this is really common here. I want to know if you feel stuck, uncertain on how to fix the problems that just keep coming back over and over again, sometimes getting worse no matter how hard you try. Does this sound like you? Do you feel like you have no idea how to get your spouse back, but you're so hungry to know what it takes? See, the thing is, most people don't know what the real problem is with all this. Most people have no idea what the real problem is. They focus so much on all the symptoms, all the little things, that they never realize what actually needs to be changed. I hear these complaints all the time, people, having this dread, not knowing what to do, and they want to change it so bad, and they have no idea. And that's why I want to share all about this with you. A little bit later, we're going to share a little bit on all the details of what is the real problem. We're also going to have a little bit of a pop quiz. What's the average cost of a divorce? We'll answer all that at the end, but I really want to focus here on, what the real problem is. But before I get into that, I want you to take a moment and imagine something for me. Can you imagine feeling just a sense of security in your marriage again? Having a sense of peace, just knowing everything's all right. I just want you to imagine that that time when you felt that closeness to your husband or wife, and imagine what it would be like to have that again. And I just want you to imagine what it would be like to just not only have that closeness, to feel that direct connection, feel like you belong together. The real question here, the big question, um, is this. I know a lot of you are asking, can your marriage be saved? Honestly, this is a question that keeps many people from even trying. And it's absolutely the one thing that, when someone's considering divorce, whether they're asking themselves. It's just that when they get to the point where they're saying, yeah, you know what, divorce is a good option, they simply don't believe that this is possible anymore. But I'll tell you that there are only two signs that will absolutely spell disaster out. Two signs when we know that a marriage is most likely over. And, all other cases, very likely the marriage can be saved. It can be fixed. It can be restored. It can improve. Those two things are if you have absolutely no interaction whatsoever. Or number two is if your spouse has fully committed themselves to someone else. If that's not your situation, then there absolutely is an opportunity for you to reconnect with your spouse. Even if they're dating someone else, even if they're, playing the field a little bit, that doesn't necessarily mean full commitment. And there's still opportunity for you to rebuild trust, rebuild security, restore your marriage, and we want to prove that to you. See, we've coached and studied thousands of people all over the world, and we have figured out what makes them tick, what pulls them apart, and what brings them back together again. The thing is, there are common traits that couples everywhere have that bring success and happiness to their relationship. But there are also certain actions and traits that almost universally spell disaster, no matter where you are in the world. So just before we go in much further, I just want to introduce ourselves, let you know who we are, how we got to this point. So my name is Marc Johnston. I am an international marriage expert. I have clients all over the world, in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Canada, and here in the United States. Basically, wherever there are people who speak English, I've worked with people there. I am the author, the creator of this restoration equation method, and the proud co-founder of this wonderful company, High Thrive Coaching. Over the last decade, I've helped thousands of couples strengthen and improve their relationships and make lasting change. My wonderful partner in business here is Heather Choate. She is an international marriage and mindset expert, also with clients all over the world. She has helped build this business up and helped me found High Thrive Coaching. Has been an integral part of every part of this business. She's also one of the great things about her is she's a 27-time best-selling author. I mean, it's huge. She first stepped into this, by inspiring hundreds of thousands of people with her story, with how she fought breast cancer while pregnant, and how that transformed her mindset, and how it strengthened her marriage. So now that you know us, I want to know whether you want to know what you must do to get your spouse back and come back to you. Now, I'm sure you do, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So it all comes down to this, the restoration equation. It comes down to three crucial things, crucial steps that you must do in order to restore your marriage quickly and also have lasting change here. Like I said, we call this the restoration equation, and we will share each of these three steps here with you today, so you'll know exactly what you must do to get to where you want to be, to restore your marriage. Much like a regular equation, a marriage needs certain things, for it to make sense, for it to work. And very likely, As you've been trying to restore your marriage, there's been a missing piece somewhere there. And I want to go over some of these missing pieces, let you know what you need to do to put back into your marriage to make this, this equation complete again, to actually get to the point where you can restore things. So I want to go over a few mistakes, a few myths here, but Heather's going to take us from here.
Thank you, Mark. Wonderful. And I just want to honor everyone for joining us here today. That says a lot about you, that you're someone that's willing to take action to improve your relationship and save your marriage. And at the end of the day, have peace of mind that you have done everything you could and become who you really need to be. That's what we're all about here. So it's really important that we understand what some of the most common mistakes are and some of the myths that happen in our culture when we have trouble in our relationship. And the first one is this idea of pushing your spouse. This is such a common mistake that Mark and I see so frequently. When your spouse is pulling away from you, you tend to get into a very fearful place, and you get into a state of desperation, a state of anxiety, and you are just so wanting to get your partner back to you. What you end up doing, though, is this idea of pushing them to try to take action, pushing them to want to work on the marriage. And so what this pushing is it relies heavily on scare tactics, okay? Manipulation, pleading, and that desperation, because you're coming from that place of fear, of panic about what is happening. So let's look at this, what it looks like. So statements like this fall heavily into this idea of pushing. I'm going to leave or separate my spouse so that they will see how much they want me back. Okay, how often have we heard someone say that, or even heard ourselves say that? You know, if I just leave, they'll see how much they miss me, they'll see how much they appreciate me, and then they're going to want me back. We want what we can't have, right? But this is one of the biggest myths. And when we step into that idea of I'm going to pull away so that they want to come and get me, then, you know, that's just actually going to push further away and create more of a separation and gap. Another thing that we hear is I'm going to take the kids. Again, this is a manipulation out of fear, trying to get control over a situation that you often feel like you don't have a lot of control over. Or I'm going to give them the silent treatment. So all of these things push your spouse further away from you. So pushing is a really applicable word in this instance because it's only going to push your spouse further away from you. So do you want to know the number one phrase to stop their retreat? Is to stop demanding that they stay. The more you demand that they stay, it's like getting into that clench mode. And anyone that feels that they're being controlled or they're being manipulated or they're being forced into doing something, obviously they're not going to want to do it. I'm going to relate this to a story that's on my mind right now, an example from my own life. My family just got a sweet little kitten a couple of days ago, and my 4-year-old daughter, Naomi, just absolutely loves this kitten, but she loves it so much that she's like almost strangling the life out of this poor creature. And now every time my daughter comes into the room, the cat bolts to the other side, just terrified of her, because none of us like to feel that we're being strangled, like that we're being held on too tightly. And what I'm trying to teach her instead is to, instead of forcing the kitten to want to be with her, allow the kitten to want to be with her and do the things that are going to help that kitten build a good relationship with her. And so that might be an overly simplistic story to share, but I think it does apply because there is an animalistic part in each of us that when we sense that someone's in panic or in clench mode or they're holding on too tightly, we don't feel safe. We don't feel secure. And so we will distance ourselves from that person, from that situation, so we can have that sense of security. So what we want to do instead is what we call the push versus pull method. What we want to do is to pull our spouse, which is like drawing them naturally to us like a magnet. How do we do that? Just like my daughter with the kitten, we need to make things safe and comfortable for your spouse so they stop running. And going even deeper, we get into a mindset of shifting you out of a place of fear into a place of calm, into a place of serenity. And when you're in a state of calm and serenity, you're better able to solve problems. Your interactions become more comfortable. And your spouse is going to sense that as well. It makes you more attractive and it makes you safer to be around. We're also going to create positive experiences because perhaps like the kitten, your spouse associates you with pain. They associate you with, we need to work on the relationship. You committed to this. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to work with this on me. And it's just more pressure and more pain. And so they become kind of conditioned to not want to be around you. So you need to stop that, the damaging behavior right there and the pushing them further away by having more positive experiences together. So they're like, oh, I actually want to be around you. I feel safe around you. And this will help build a trust and a happy relationship. Think back to when you were courting and all those wonderful, beautiful, safe and positive experiences you had together. We need to start to bring those back into the relationship now. And as we're doing that, we always want to make sure that we come from a genuine place so that our spouse never feels used or manipulated. So that brings us to our first part of our restoration equation, which is understanding. And understanding is all about trust, patience, and intimacy, really being close to the matter. This is really the heart of the whole thing. This is the foundation to restoring your marriage and reconnecting with your spouse. And without understanding, you cannot hope to succeed. So you might think that you have a level of understanding, but I can almost assuredly tell you that if you have major issues in your marriage, then you do not. Even if the problem is something very specific, let's say like an affair, I can almost guarantee that you do not fully understand your partner's perspective. If you did, then honestly, you wouldn't likely be here listening to this. So there are some problems. Wait, hold on. Okay. There are problems mostly because there's something that is wanted that isn't being provided. So that's the source of all frustration. Things aren't the way that they should be. But what if you intimately knew what was wanted? What if you understood exactly what your spouse was looking for, what they were craving on a deep emotional level, and you were able to provide it? What kind of a difference would that make? That's how your spouse will naturally be pulled back to you. The right method, it does act like a magnet, drawing you back together. It feels good and it feels right and it feels lasting because it is. The most important thing to understand about the pull method is that it starts with you, which brings us to the second part, and Marc is going to take us there.
All right, so like Heather said, this is the second big mistake here, the second myth, that it takes two of you to fix the problem. Like Heather mentioned, this all is going to start with you, and it absolutely does not take two to restore a marriage. Restoration in your marriage starts with you. It has to. You can't wait for your spouse to get on board. You can't wait for them to take action. You are going to be the one. If you're the one that's in this to fix things, you're going to have to be the one to start. If you're waiting for them to do something, if you're waiting for them to change, if you're waiting for them to make all the differences, it's almost like saying that you're going to plant seeds in a garden after you see the plants growing. It just doesn't make sense. That's not how this works. You must be willing to go first. Anything else, and I can almost guarantee that the marriage will continue going in the direction that it's going. You can't rely on someone else to change. You only have control over yourself. Like I said, anything else, it's marriage suicide. It will end. Remember, the first step, it's all about understanding, and you need that plan of action before moving forward. Just like this gentleman here, one of our customers, one of our clients, he's talking about here how important understanding and connection, or how important understanding was. And once he had that understanding, everything started moving a little bit more smoothly. All the walls started coming down. Like I said, you have to have this understanding before you have any sort of plan of action. But after understanding comes the second part of our equation, restoring hope. Many times people come our way and the marriage is already at the point where one person wants out. They've lost hope that anything could be different. And this right here, it's absolutely what prevents your spouse from working things through or coming back. If they don't think that anything could be different, why would they work on things? Why would they invest their time, their energy, their efforts into something that can't change? So, big question here. How do you restore hope? I'll tell you, restoring hope, it's not about focusing on all the symptoms, all the little problems that make a marriage break down like everyone else does. This gets us to the third myth or mistake, and then that is focusing on symptoms rather than the root of the problem. I want to focus in on this, and then we'll talk about how do you actually restore hope in just a moment. So, all these things here, problems with money, problems with sex, problems with affairs, parenting problems, poor communication, whether there are arguments in the marriage, whether you feel like you've been neglected, all of these things, every single one of them are all just symptoms of deeper problems. So the thing is, when you treat symptoms like most everyone else, the problem really doesn't go away. It becomes masked, shifted around, and I will absolutely guarantee that another problem will pop up. And this is why people feel like nothing goes anywhere. They take care of one thing and then something else pops up. I want to give you an example, for instance. Let's say sex for an example. A husband or wife, they might say to their spouse, okay, we don't have enough sex. I don't feel wanted. I don't feel that desire, whatever. The solution, they say, okay, well, why don't we just have more sex, of course. I will tell you, though, invariably in these sort of situations, there's going to be an obstacle. There was a reason why they weren't having enough sex in the first place. So even if they come up with some sort of solution to have more sex, things are quickly going to go back to the way things were because they didn't address those root issues. Ultimately, if you solved your concerns with any of these issues, another problem will crop up somewhere else to take its place. The thing is, if you don't solve the core issues, these surface level problems will never be resolved. It's just going to keep coming up over and over again. So I want to give an example here. I remember an individual. The wife had come to me for help, and the situation was, she was really hurt because her husband he had a problem with pornography. This really hurt her feelings, made her feel like she wasn't good enough. She wasn't enough in the marriage. And the thing is, they kept trying to go and treat this issue here about the pornography, and they kept thinking, okay, it was about sex, and they kept doing things centered around sex, and that wasn't the issue. That wasn't the core problem. When we got right down to it, first off, there was a lot of lies. The husband was hiding a lot of his habits. So there was issues there. And when we got right down to it, is he didn't feel like it was safe enough to open up to his wife to discuss the problem. That was one thing. So it really wasn't even about the lies. It was about whether the two of them could be open enough with their conversation on a very sensitive topic. When we got even further, once they got talking about it, we found out that, the pornography wasn't really about sex. It was about having a coping mechanism to deal with stress. And having, the pornography just happened to be the easiest, most simple solution for him at the time. The point here is, it seemed like the problem was about sex, and it really wasn't. It was about allowing having the ability to discuss issues, intimate issues between husband and wife. And it was about having appropriate coping um, behaviors to deal with stress. When we actually dealt with the symptoms in the relationship, it was much easier to actually allow all these symptoms to go away. So I want to give another example here. This is one of our recent clients, and how when they addressed the root of the issue, how everything fell into place and everything came back together. They went from the point where the husband wanted out, he was having an affair, he was considering divorce, to the point where they're very happy together. And I wanted to just show you how this works with her own story.
Hi everyone. So I don't normally do this, but I was asked to share my story with you guys. So my husband started cheating on me in November, and I found out in February, about a month before our son was born, and I was broken. I thought that I was never going to get through it. I felt like a part of me had died. And I didn't know what to do. And then one day, about 3 months ago, I found an ad on Facebook talking about the program. And for me, it was a sign from God, because I was at my wit's end. I didn't know what to do anymore. I felt like all I was doing was walking in circles. And so I joined the program on my last leg of hope, and it made a huge difference in my life. Because of the program, I started doing more self-reflection, and I started working on me, and I started improving myself and bringing that to my marriage. And because of that, because of following the program and speaking my husband's love language and finding what my husband needed because of the help of the program, my husband and I can now say that we have been married for 5 years as of last week, and he's left the other woman, and he's focusing on his family, and he wants to have a future with me, and he wants to have a future with me and our son together as a family. And I'm telling you guys, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling knowing that I still get to spend the rest of my life with the love of my life. And some of you guys might be feeling like you're losing hope. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pushing through. When you feel like you have nothing left to give, when you feel like you are on your last leg, you aren't. You have more strength than you realize, and you can get through this, and you will get through this. Just keep doing the program, keep sticking with it, keep believing in yourself, and I promise you guys, you will see a difference.
See, what we need to do is we need to resolve root issues, like I've been saying. And we do that by meeting our spouse's true emotional needs. And if we look at the example here, Alan Hendricks, he learned this principle, and it made things so much easier. He was saying, hey, he was seeing all these problems. He thought the problem was communication. And so that's all they worked on. They worked on communication problems and trying to communicate better. But, you know, after working with us, he saw that what he thought was the real problem was really just a symptom. And the issue, the reason why they're having communication problems was something much deeper. And if he kept going on just communication, it wouldn't have been resolved. Once we got to the root, things became so much easier, and it just flowed. He was able to move further. So what we need to do, as I've been saying, is we need to resolve the root issues, and we do that by meeting our spouse's true emotional needs, just like Alan Hendricks here. So when Alan Hendricks first joined in with the program, he thought the root issue, the main problem, was about communication. And so when he had been trying things with other people, other counselors, that's all they worked on. They worked on communication. But when we got right down to it, he understood hey, that's just a symptom of the problem. The real issue was something much deeper. Things did not feel safe between them. There wasn't that trust. And they couldn't go any further until they addressed that. And he said, once we found out the root issue, things were so much easier. And the thing is, root issues are very, very often about meeting basic needs. And that brings us to the next part of the equation. After understanding, we really need to start meeting needs. This is so important. You see, at the root of all this, everyone has some basic emotional needs. Everyone, absolutely everyone. When we get to these root issues, it's so much easier to solve the problems. So what are some of these needs then? These are things like, everyone has a need for a sense of security and certainty in their life. Everyone has also a need for some variety, some uncertainty, some challenge. People don't want things to be predictable all the time. They want some fun. Everyone also has a need to feel some connection and love. They want to feel like they belong somewhere, like they can connect deeply to someone. They also want to, everyone has a need to feel like they matter, that they have some significance, like they are valued, their opinion matters. It is a deep need. Everyone also wants to feel like they're growing, like they're improving, like something, like their circumstances are getting better. They also want to feel like their contributions matter. They want to know that what they're doing is contributing to something in the world. So I want to give you an example here, example of what it really was about as far as meeting needs. So I can remember a client of mine, the husband came to work with us first. And in that situation, there was a breach of trust. It was about finances. The husband was in charge of the finances. He was the provider. And at some point, he wanted to hide the amount of debt that he was incurring to his wife. He didn't want to share that because he wanted to protect her. He didn't want to have her worry about it. When she found out, it was a huge breach of trust. She did not feel safe. That need for security was gone. Now, what ended up happening is she was angry. She kept lashing out. She was, I would describe it as verbally abusive. She would insult her husband, repeatedly. And she kept pulling further and further away. And when we got right down to it, he came to me saying, my wife is mean. She speaks poorly of me. She insults me constantly. But the thing is, this was not the problem. This was the symptom of the problem. When we got right down to it, it was really about feeling unsafe. The wife did not feel safe putting her trust in her husband anymore. And we needed to solve that in order to solve all the other problems with, her being angry. Now, we needed to cut off that, the anger and the verbal abuse. But, if we wanted to have it be a long-lasting solution, we needed to fix the security, the need to feel safe. And once we did that, it became so much easier for the wife to calm down, for her to speak kindly to her husband, for them to work on things together. Just like I said, when we got to the root of things, it made it so that all the symptoms were easy to clear away. You see, the thing is, when needs aren't met, people tend to scramble. They look desperately for something, anything that will make them feel good again. In the example that I gave, the wife closed herself off. She wanted to control things. She lashed out in an effort to feel safe again. If she didn't have to rely on her husband, then she wouldn't have to feel unsafe. The person with money trouble might feel insecure and become tight with money. The person with the affair might come from a desire to have some form of connection in their life. It's all about needs. All these problems stem from needs not being met. So I wanted to give this over to Heather to explain a little bit further here as to keep the equation going along. So, Heather.
Very good, Mark. I hope you've had some incredible ahas here and that you're understanding now what might be some of the deeper issues that are causing the symptoms in your marriage. Now, if you're like many people, at this point, you might take this information and you say, okay, I've got it. I'm just going to meet their needs. I'm going to show some understanding. It's so easy. I can figure this out. I just needed a little nudge. But that brings us to our next myth or mistake, which is trying to do it on your own. Now, I relate this to when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Major problem, life-threatening situation. And if I had tried to do it on my own, I simply didn't know how to solve this problem, how to get to healing, how to navigate the challenges that were ahead of it. And if I had tried to do it on my own, I know I would not be where I am right now. I needed the guidance of experts who knew exactly what to do to help me navigate through those challenges. So bottom line is, your way, it just, it hasn't been working. And many people do not know how to solve their problems. Because if they did know, then they wouldn't have problems anymore, right? So when people try to solve problems on their own, this is what most people do. They go to books. They pour themselves into the self-help aisle. They go to YouTube. They go to blogs. They do a Google search. They might go to therapy, pastor, and friends, all in this desperate effort to fix what is really a critical problem. But what do they end with when they go this route? What most people don't understand is that this is what you end up getting. You get scattered, misleading information. You have experts, because not all of them are, but they're often claiming opposite solutions. For me, when I was, looking at treatment for cancer, I was faced with opposite solutions from different experts. One said, abort your baby. The other one said, no, we can save your baby. And so it's really crucial that you find the solution that feels best to you, resonates best with you, and will get you the result that you're looking for. Because those opposite opinions, opposite solutions, that can be very confusing and overwhelming. Again, when you go that route, there's no one to hold you accountable. There's no one to give you feedback on that great principle you just read in a book. It might be completely true, but you don't know if you're applying it right. There's no one to give you guidance and coaching to see if you're doing it correctly and to show you what the next step is. And you end up with wasted time and effort. It's crucial that if your marriage is in, a downward cycle, if you're threatening divorce, separation, or you're just unhappy, that you get the right help to bridge that gap between you and your spouse quickly. So I'm going to make it clear, none of these things are necessarily wrong. But remember, it's all about getting exactly the right information in the right order to get the results that you want. Okay? If you're anything like our clients, then you know that your marriage is too important to mess around with, and your time is too valuable to waste trying to figure it out. So wasted time, it really is the number one cause of separation and divorce. And those that succeed in restoring their marriages and having their spouse actually wanting to be with them, they don't waste their time. They don't let that gap get wider and wider. They make sure to get all the pieces of the restoration equation in the right order. And that's exactly why Mark and I created this for you. So let's turn it back over to Mark to get all the pieces put together so you can see the full restoration equation in its glory.
All right, so like we've been talking about, there's a few parts to the restoration equation. There is understanding. We have to know what is going on. We have to know what is wanted. We have to know what the root of the issue is. There needs to be a lot of patience with our partner, and we have to understand all the motivations behind everything here. If you don't have that, it's really hard to plan a course of action and actually do the right thing. It's also about restoring hope, because it's really hard to move forward if your partner does not have any hope that things could be different, or if even you yourself, if you don't believe that anything is going to be different how are you supposed to invest your time, your effort, your energy into this? You're simply not going to. Neither is your husband or wife if they don't have that hope. And then once we can understand them, once we can actually start bringing some more certainty to the situation, help them to understand that things can be different, we also need to make sure that we're getting to the root of these problems and that specific needs are being met. And so from there, once we have all these things together, this is what it takes to come back together to restore a marriage. You have that understanding, you can build up that hope again, you can get to those root issues, and you have all those, you will have an improved or restored marriage here. So why does the restoration equation work? It's, what we have here is a proven step-by-step system. It's much more likely, to have some success when you know exactly what you need to do next. I know, I've been in the counseling situation. I know what, a lot of counselors do. And a lot of them, what they say is, okay, we're going to talk with our client and we're going to help them kind of come up with a solution on their own. We're going to kind of put it into this structure of this psychological theory. But here, the thing is, this is a really delicate and time-sensitive situation. A lot of times we want to cut things off before it gets worse. And I want to help, this is why I came up with this, to help you know exactly what you need to do next. And so what we have here is we have, either the success rate of people trying to save their marriage on their own, or even trying to save it with a regular counselor. To be quite honest, the success rate there is not very high because, it's just kind of left in the air of what to do next. And a lot of counselors either won't really be willing to push people too far or don't really even themselves know what needs to happen. But when we have some proven techniques here to get your spouse back, we are absolutely going to see much better success. And this is what I want what we, Heather and I, have to offer you. We have a proven step-by-step system, and we customize it to specifically meet your needs. We want to make sure that, where there are holes or gaps in your relationship, that we fill in those gaps. We want to make sure that, we're covering all our bases with understanding. We're covering all those bases with restoring hope if that's what's needed. We also want to make sure that you have some full accountability. If you're not doing things well, if you're not doing things right, we want to make sure that you know it so that we can correct that. And we want to make sure that the results are quick. Because we know how crucial time is in a lot of these situations. This is why we really are quite intense with this, between having an online program and one-on-one sessions and group sessions and feedback on homework. We want to make sure you get these results fast.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Marc. So today we promised that we would get you several different things. Clarity, that you will know if your marriage can be saved, if there is hope for your relationship, or if it is too far gone. Hopefully you have that clarity now. Also results, to know how to quickly get out of that painful loop you've been stuck in and actually start seeing some change. And that crucial hope of knowing how to get your spouse from, where they are pulling away from you, they might have one foot out the door, to truly back in your arms again. We also promised that we would give you direction, that you will know exactly what you must do to restore your marriage and what fatal mistakes to avoid. And time, how to save time, energy, and effort so you can restore your marriage fast without wasting years in therapy. Now, you have a choice. You can apply this restoration equation and start restoring your marriage today. You can start restoring your marriage and have the love of your life again. You can restore trust and feel secure in your relationship. You can be happy in your marriage no matter what happens, that you and your love will see things through together. You can live with peace in your heart, knowing that no matter what, you gave your marriage the very best possible, and you became a better person because of it. So Marc and I and our team, we've set aside some time in the next week that we can speak with you personally about how you can apply the restoration equation to your unique marriage. So are you ready to take your marriage restoration to the next level? So what we do in this call is we will see if you qualify for our Express Relationship Restoration Coaching Program. Now, Express is a complete marriage coaching program, and it will help you improve communication, lessen tension, while increasing intimacy, getting to the root of those issues so that real change can occur, and create a secure marriage, one that you're really proud of. So this elite coaching program has been the turning point for many of our clients, including Leah, who you heard from earlier, whose husband has now left the other woman and is working on the relationship with her. This was the moment when he went and put his wedding ring back on, and it was just a beautiful moment that we could all celebrate together. Using our proven restoration equation method, our clients they dissolved divorces, they've put their wedding rings back on, they went from sleeping on the couch or, even in another home to back into each other's arms. And again, all of this without wasting years of therapy and countless dollars in divorce and separation. So, you ready to answer our pop quiz? The average cost of divorce in the United States, you can Google this, is approximately $16,000. Now that does not count the division of assets, custody battles, the emotional pain, and the heartache that occurs, oftentimes for years and years to come. But the good news is that really it doesn't have to be your reality. And you can choose now to apply the restoration equation in your marriage. Have the empathy and care for each other that our clients now have. So at this point, most people are wondering, how does Express Relationship Restoration Coaching actually work? So what it is, let's break it down here. You get a customized action plan. We'll go deep into your relationship and your specific needs, your specific challenges, and you'll get a customized action plan so you know the exact steps that you need to take and when to make progress on the unique challenges in your relationship. You get one-on-one feedback. You'll have feedback frequently and calls with Marc where he will review your progress and answer all the questions about your situation, ensuring you progress. Again, it's all about applying the principles correctly to make sure that you're really moving forward as you need to. And we offer group coaching calls. These help you get laser focused from Marc and myself to learn even more as we answer all your questions. And you also get to hear from other relationship restorers who are in the Express coaching program. And that offers incredible value and insights that you wouldn't have if you were just going through the program alone. We go deep into your mindset to make sure that any of the limiting beliefs, any of the things that have been keeping you stuck on that deep root core level, that we overcome all of those so that you are able to really move forward with your relationship and your life. Now, another great question here. What if I do this program? Say you're like, okay, I'm all in. This sounds awesome. But what if I still have that little bit of fear there? What if I do this and my marriage still isn't saved? So let's break this down. In the vast majority of cases, Marc and I, we are able to save people's marriages. Bottom line, that happens all the time, every day. But let's say, for example, let's use like the 80-20 rule here. So our actual numbers are much higher. Let's say that 80% of marriages we do help turn around and their spouses reconnect. They come back home. They put the wedding rings back on. They take the pictures, post them on Instagram, and couples are truly happier than ever. Okay, but let's say for whatever reason, some of the marriages that go through the program, they still aren't saved. What then? Well, first, let's be really clear about something. I want you to answer this for yourself. It's all about you and where you're at. If you don't do this program, if you don't turn things around in your marriage and get the help that you need, what's going to happen? Are you going to learn the skills needed to better communicate with your spouse? Will you be able to lessen the tension? Will you successfully navigate the challenges ahead? Or are you going to continue down the same painful path that you've been on? Are things going to get even worse? You know the answer. But most importantly, I want you to answer this question within yourself. Do you want to live with the pain of regret that you didn't give your marriage, your family, every fighting chance? Do you want to live your life wondering, what if? What if you did turn things around? What if you had been able to restore your marriage? See, the truth is, the choices that we make right now, they define us forever. Losing your spouse, it is painful, yes, but living with the pain of regret that you didn't do all that you could, it is so much worse. Not being the person you were meant to be, I can promise you that is the most painful experience in life, because you go with you wherever you go and with whomever you are with. And those root issues that have led to challenges in this relationship, they will go with you into the future, into any future relationship. And if you don't learn how to communicate now, those same communication challenges are going to go with you. And if you don't overcome your own limiting beliefs and get your own emotional needs met and learn how to meet others, those same problems will plague you no matter where you go. So, what happens to our clients whose marriages aren't saved? That's a great question. They live with peace of mind, knowing they did everything that they could. 100% of our clients tell us that they developed those habits of effective communication, which benefits their relationship with their spouse, their children, their coworkers, their boss, every single aspect of life. And those were simply habits that they did not have before. They learn how to understand their spouse and better meet their needs. They ease the tension between them and their spouse, which makes the challenges of divorce, separation, custody, and future management of their children and property so much easier. They overcome their own limiting beliefs, that stress and that fear, that panic mode that we talked about at the beginning that has been holding them back for so long, and it's kept them in pain for so long. They shift from that kind of state of tension and panic to a state of calmness and serenity, like being a rock amidst a storm. They come to peace about the situation and know that this is actually the right thing for them to do. Living your life with no regrets and complete peace of mind that you have done the right things for the right reasons and grown into the person that you are meant to be, that is worth everything. That is the mark of a beautiful life and a prosperous future abundant in love and joy. I'm thinking back to I probably shouldn't have favorites, but he's one of my favorite clients, Bruce. His marriage was not actually saved. He went into the program and afterwards learned that his wife was too far gone. He did everything that he could. But when he came to us, he was in a state of tension. He was in a state of wanting to try to control and manipulate situations because he had a huge need for security. And he would then feel like he had to clench onto everyone, including his wife, which then pushed her further away. And he didn't know how to let go of that. It impacted everything he did in his life. But working with us, he was able to get to the root of why he felt that way. Why was his need to control things was so strong that it was then pushing them away? And his transformation was one of the most beautiful that I've ever seen. He became a rock in his own life. He was able to shift from a scarcity and this clench mode and this fear and this panic about things to truly allowing them to unfold and to becoming, at peace with the situation and feeling that no matter what happened outside of him, he was who he needed to be and he was doing exactly what he knew he needed to do. That is what we can absolutely assure you will have when you dedicate yourself to this program. Is that alone worth it to you? When you learn to find that peace and that inner resolve that is within you to be who you are meant to be and to do your very best, you live a life that is truly stunning. We look forward to getting you there. However, This coaching program is not for everyone, and we do not accept just anyone off the streets as a client. There are very specific things that we look for. First of all, we look for those that are committed. You must absolutely be committed to saving your marriage and be willing to go first without waiting for your spouse to get on board. We also look for those that are invested. You must put forth the time, the energy, and the money to save your marriage and your family, because you're looking at putting forth time and energy and money either direction you go, especially if you're heading towards divorce. There is going to be a financial, emotional, and energy cost to that. So it's your decision which one you want to put it toward. Do you want to put it toward ending your marriage or living in less than a happy situation? Or do you want to put it toward the relationship that you want and the relationship that you can feel good about for the rest of your life? And the last thing is you must be coachable. You must be willing to do what it takes to save your marriage. Now, in conclusion, do not wait one moment to save your marriage. Too many have waited too long only to find out that it is too late. If this resonates with you, we invite you to go to highthrivecoaching.com/apply and see if you qualify for this program. Choose now to break through and show your commitment to your marriage and your happiness by taking advantage of this free opportunity. Remember, life is short and time is precious. Thank you for coming today, and we look forward to seeing your marriage thrive.